All right, let's talk about something so many people dealing with hair loss run into. We're going to call it the Minoxidil Trap. It's that frustrating moment when you've been using one of the most common treatments out there and it feels like it just stops working. If that sounds familiar, well, you're definitely not alone. So if you're one of the millions of people out there using minoxidil, you're going to want to stick around for this. Because according to hair loss experts, there's this crucial piece of the puzzle that so many of us are missing, and it could be the key to getting those long-term results you're after. You know, it's easy to see why minoxidil is such a popular starting point. For a lot of people, it's the very first thing they try. And in the beginning, the results can be really, really encouraging. You start to see some progress and you think, okay, great, I found it. This is the solution. But then something changes. For a lot of folks, that progress starts to slow down, it stalls out, or gosh, sometimes it even feels like it's going backwards. This is the big problem when minoxidil is the only weapon in your arsenal against hair loss. And listen, this isn't just a feeling you have. It's a very real thing. As one expert puts it, it's actually highly probable that the treatment will get less effective over time. The reason why is surprisingly simple, but it's the one thing that most people completely miss. So what is actually going on here? Well, it's a classic case of diminishing returns. You start using minoxidil, you see those awesome positive results, but then over time, your body just kind of gets used to it, and that initial boost you got, it starts to fade away, leaving you scratching your head, wondering what went wrong. So what do most of us do when this happens? The logical next step seems to be, well, I'll just use more. You might jump from a 5% solution up to an 8% or maybe even a 10%, thinking that a higher dose will bring back those early results. But that's not actually fixing the real fundamental issue here. And that brings us to the real aha moment in all of this. This is probably the single most important distinction you can make when you're treating hair loss. Understanding the difference between treating a symptom and treating the actual root cause. This really lays it all out, doesn't it? On one hand, you have masking the symptom. That's what you're doing when you apply something like minoxidil to stimulate growth. But on the other hand, you have treating the cause, which means you actually figure out why the hair loss is happening in the first place, and you tackle that. And man, this quote from an expert just says it all. Minoxidil is not treating the underlying cause, it is simply masking the symptom. Let that sink in for a second. It's helping with what you can see on the surface, but it's not actually fixing the engine under the hood. So when we say underlying cause, what are we even talking about? Well, it's the specific number one reason why your hair is thinning. And minoxidil, for all its benefits, just isn't designed to fix that primary problem. It only works on that surface-level symptom. Okay, so we've kind of laid out the problem with the minoxidil-only strategy. So now what? Well, let's dive into a much smarter approach, one that's actually built for results that last. This is the game plan that experts recommend, and it's pretty straightforward. Step 1, you have to investigate the why. You've got to understand the real reason for your hair loss. Step 2, you treat that cause head on. And then, step 3, you bring in support tools. And yes, that includes minoxidil, but as part of a bigger plan, not as the entire plan itself. And the key here is you don't have to just toss your minoxidil in the trash. No way. It's still a super valuable tool, but it's just one tool in a much bigger toolbox, which might also include things like low-level laser therapy or PRP. It just works way better when it's part of a complete strategy. So where do we go from here? Really, it's all about a shift in your mindset. It's about moving from just covering up a problem to actually truly solving it for good. If there's one thing you take away from all this, please let it be this right here. Your goal shouldn't be just to manage the symptom of hair loss. The real goal, the one that leads to lasting success, is to solve the actual problem that's causing it in the first place. And that brings us to the final big question, and it's a question for you. I want you to really think about your own routine, what you're doing right now, and ask yourself honestly, are you actually treating the cause, or are you just masking the symptom? Because the answer to that question, well, it could change everything.